Good morning, church. It's early Monday morning. Got our daily devotion here for Monday, September the 14th. Our text is from Joshua 3, 1 through 17. It's a beautiful story that I hope you'll take some time to read. I have always loved the Exodus narrative. That's what we preachers call the story of the Hebrew people being led out of Egypt. It is soul stirring, really. My mama tells me that when I was 4 years old, I sat for nearly 4 hours watching the old Charlton Heston movie, The Ten Commandments. She still says to this day, that's when I knew you'd be a preacher. Mamas are like that. No doubt you remember that the scene in the movie where Moses lifted his hands, the winds came, and the waters of the Red Sea or the Reed Sea parted. The land became dry, and the Israelites crossed over on dry ground. Such drama there. You might not remember that it happened again at the River Jordan, this time with Joshua, Moses' successor, leading the way. I love verse 17 from Joshua 3. While all Israel were crossing over on dry ground, the priests who bore the Ark of the Covenant of the Lord stood on dry ground in the middle of the Jordan until the entire nation finished crossing over the Jordan. The people of God were finally in the promised land. After 40 years of wandering in the wilderness and wanting to go back to Egypt, they crossed yet another river and arrived to the land which God had promised. But it is interesting to keep reading the story. They struggled to be faithful, they struggled to heed the voice of God, and many times they wanted to go back to Egypt. We wonder how a people set free from slavery and oppression would ever want to go back to Egypt. Well, it turns out a life of freedom, grace, and love requires much more of us than a life of slavery and oppression. Oddly enough, a life of slavery and oppression in the way that they experienced it and the way that many of us do can be much simpler. Someone else is always calling the shots. We can always blame someone else for our problems, faults, and failures, and someone else is always happy to tell us what to do and how to be. This life of freedom, grace, and love, which God offered God's people and which Jesus offers the whole world, is much more challenging. In God's plan, the scapegoat is gone. Grace reigns, and freedom comes with this tremendous responsibility to bless the world with the love of God. It is beautiful, but it isn't easy. It isn't easy at all. We in the Church of Jesus Christ, not just our church, but the whole church, we are struggling with a desire to go back to Egypt. For all of us, for many of us, I suppose I should say, Egypt is kind of a cultural Christianity that has all the form of religion but none of the power. It is a false Christianity that makes us feel good, keeps us happy, and enslaves us with our own comfort and contentment. And so often we think seriously about going back to Egypt. The truth is, with God's help, we're crossing another river now. The waters are piled up to one side and the riverbed is dry. The promised land of true Christianity stretches out before us. It is a place of freedom, grace, and love, which requires so much of us. Very little about it will be easy or simple, and the responsibility to bless the world with God's love, why, it is overwhelming. What do? Well, we pray. We walk on. We follow Jesus across this river too, and we remember that this is what it means to become the people God created us to be. The people by whom God will bless the whole world with the good news of God's love in Jesus. Let's keep walking together. I love you very much. Hope you have a great Monday, a great week, and I look forward to seeing you all very soon. Remember that next Sunday we add our 8:30 modern worship back to the mix on Sunday mornings in person, and our 10 o'clock service becomes the 10:30 traditional service in the sanctuary. All right, talk to you soon.